Welcome back once again to the Civil Rights Lawyer channel. This fantastic submission video was sent in by Cynical Zombie, and it's very well done. The footage is great, but the question he poses is even better. Here's what he filmed the Chicago police doing earlier this week. On a public bike and pedestrian pathway, police in Chicago set up this checkpoint at the exit of a pedestrian bridge as well as a tunnel to just subject everyone to the search of their bags for what they said was alcohol or firearms. And doing so without reasonable suspicion that any crime was committed, without probable cause, and of course without a search warrant. Is that legal? Take a look at the sweet video, and then I'll see if I can answer that question.
Hey John, let me start by saying I'm a huge fan of your channel. Thank you for everything you do. For the last couple years, I've had a small YouTube channel where my wife and I would explore bike trails all over Illinois and Wisconsin. Every single video I make is basically brought to you by the First Amendment, my right to record in public. This is the 23rd of May, a Tuesday afternoon, just past 2 p.m. My wife and I took a day off of work to ride the Chicago Lakefront Trail. We just left Lincoln Park Zoo and we're making our way back to the Lakefront Trail so we could head towards Navy Pier. There's only so many ways you could get from one side of Lakeshore Drive to the other side of Lakeshore Drive, so the closest one for us was this bridge right here. This bridge leads to North Avenue Beach and right to the Lakefront Trail. What I didn't realize is the Chicago police are waiting for everybody on the other side of the bridge. I'll start the video from the Lincoln Park side of the bridge so you guys could see this sign here. We'll get a closer look at it on the other side.
But first, just real quick, let me say thank you to YouGov for sponsoring this video. YouGov is free to join and it's so easy to use to gain extra cash. As a member, you'll earn points for giving your actual opinions on things that matter by completing short surveys and polls. YouGov has polls and surveys about politics, pop culture, products, and brands. I can give my opinion on topics that matter to me and get paid to do it. It's easy. So I do surveys while waiting for remote court hearings when I'm forced to just sit there in front of a computer and wait. Why not earn some extra cash while also keeping myself busy? YouGov is a great life hack and a great side hustle. In fact, I bought some cigars with my extra cash. Let me show you how easy it is to take a survey or poll. It's just a couple of clicks, and then you just answer the questions. It's that easy. And it's a great way to pass time, again, when you're stuck in front of a screen anyways. And one of the things I like about YouGov is that it asks you what you're most interested in so that you're not sitting there taking surveys and polls about topics that you don't like. Click my link in the bio and take surveys to earn cash on YouGov. Thanks again to YouGov for sponsoring this video.
Tell them no.
We just gotta check your guys' bags before you guys
Tell
come
them
in.
no.
No alcohol, no weapons?
They have no right. Yeah, go for it. Tell them no. You tell them you have a right.
No alcohol, no weapons?
No, we're just trying to get back on the trail.
They have no right to do this.
You're going back on the trail?
Yeah, we just crossed because we can't cross Lakeshore Drive without
I have the right
dying.
to free speech, and the police have no right to go through everyone's property.
Well, it's a Fourth Amendment, right?
Exactly, and these two guys are violating everyone's rights. Everyone that walks through here, they go through their bags. It's horrific.
District property, so we have.
You need probable cause.
Municipal code right there.
You need probable. You can't overturn the federal government.
We have our own municipal codes in Chicago.
We have.
Interesting. Anyway, we're going to turn right here.
I'll follow you.
Get the hell out of here, Jesus.
Oh my God, that lady.
No, she's
Right?
Oh, she's 100% right.
So we don't have to show them our bags if we don't want
I just told them we're trying to get back on the trail.
But what would be like insistent? What would you have done?
We would have gone back on the bridge. I would never have let them search my bags. First off, in my opinion, that lady is a hero. It seems to me it violates the Fourth Amendment. Am I wrong? Later, we go back into Lincoln Park for dinner, and on our way back, I wanted to avoid the bridge, so we took the tunnel to the south instead. What I didn't realize is the Chicago police were waiting for everybody on the other side. We're just getting on the trail. Is that good?
Yeah, we got a bag or you're good?
I mean, I have multiple bags.
There?
No.
Yeah, you got a tag.
Thank you.
Well, not like it.
So after those two police interactions, neither of us had our bags searched, but we witnessed multiple people having their bags searched. The two locations where we interacted with the police are not just strictly beach entrances. They both give you access to the walking trail and to the biking trail. So the question I have is this a violation of the Fourth Amendment? If this is a violation of the Fourth Amendment, what can be done about it? Let me know what you think. Thanks, John.
So, is this constitutional? You have people that are going through this bridge or crossing this pedestrian walkway and encountering police officers who have no indication or information that these individuals have committed any crime at all. So there's no reasonable suspicion to detain them. There's no probable cause to arrest them. Yet the signs and the activities of law enforcement show that they're going to be searched anyways. Is that legal? The Fourth Amendment requires that any search of a person or property by the government has to be reasonable. And a government search that lacks a particularized warrant that's issued by a judge upon a showing of probable cause is presumed to be unreasonable and therefore unconstitutional. There is an exception for something called administrative searches, and that's what you'll find when you go into an airport or a courthouse and you get your bag searched. Could that apply here? So a warrantless administrative search can be held to be constitutional, but the burden is on the government to show that a search like this is in furtherance of some specific and legitimate non-criminal investigation goal, and that it's not more extensive or invasive than necessary to meet that goal. So it can't give discretion to the police officers doing the searching to just do what he wants, and it can't have some other collateral purpose of collecting criminal evidence. But without a warrant, people can be lawfully stopped at roadside checkpoints for detecting drunk driving or driving without a license or even illegal hunting. Government employees and students can be lawfully searched without a warrant, including through drug testing. Closely regulated businesses, for instance, firearms, alcohol, etc., can be subject to periodic inspection without a warrant. Airplane passengers can have their luggage opened and their bodies patted down without a warrant. But the Supreme Court has addressed this and has said that there has to be some public safety risk that is substantial and real if they're going to conduct these sorts of searches. For instance, the Supreme Court has said this can happen at the entrances to courts, airports, and other official buildings. The courts will look at the motive, one of the few areas of this sort of litigation where the courts will address the actual motives of the government in performing these sorts of searches. So if the motive is at all related to collecting evidence of criminal wrongdoing, then it's unconstitutional. So if they just set up a checkpoint in public somewhere, for instance, at a bike pathway tunnel exit, the government would have the burden of explaining why searching people at that point would be constitutional. They would have to point to some evidence that there's some specific, real, and substantial safety threat that these searches are designed to avoid. And even if they do that, remember, it still has to be reasonable. So even where they've been held to allow, even where the courts have allowed this to happen, such as airports and courthouses, they're not just allowed to do whatever they want. They can't just strip search everybody coming in the building. They can't necessarily just search the bag of everybody coming in the building. It has to be no more extensive or invasive than necessary, utilizing current technology. That's why you have the X-ray machines, the metal detectors. So if those are available to the government, then that's what they're supposed to be doing if they're going to do these warrantless, suspicionless searches. So in this case, they clearly were not using current technology, assuming that the courts would go along with that. They still would have to show that it's reasonable because there's some specific problem. Are they doing it in a reasonable way? Well, we do have X-ray technology. We do have metal detector technology. Are they using that? Or are they just stopping and searching through the bags of everybody? And also, is there any evidence of an ulterior motive in collecting evidence of criminal wrongdoing? So they're looking for firearms, and Chicago has strict firearms laws. Are they looking to enforce those firearms laws? Maybe there's laws against bringing alcohol onto this particular beach. Are they looking to collect evidence that people are violating those laws? I do think there's a case to be made here, a very good one, that these particular searches do violate the Fourth Amendment in the way that they're being carried out, and also just by the fact that they exist. Of course, government can always detain somebody if they have reasonable suspicion that a crime has occurred, and they can search a pedestrian or somebody on a bike if they have probable cause. The question here is where they don't have probable cause or reasonable suspicion, and they just search everybody who's coming in. So it's a very interesting issue. I don't see a whole lot of case law on it out there. If you find something that's more applicable here, please send it my way. This is definitely something that I'm looking at in relation to some other activities. For instance, here in West Virginia, if you go to the Hatfield and McCoy trails, where you can ride for miles and miles on a side-by-side, and this happened to me personally, they set up these checkpoints. The game wardens will set up these checkpoints, and they will come over and they'll check your cooler to see if you have any beer in it. Not because they have any information or indication that you have beer, but they're just doing it because they're the government and that's what they think that they can do. I have serious questions about the constitutionality of that. This also brings up another potential issue, and that could be consent or implied consent. Some of the people who are being searched here could be arguably consenting to the search. However, when a police officer with a gun on their side is asking if they can search through your bag, there's a very good case to be made that you can't consent under those circumstances because it's coercive, at least not without more. And perhaps that's why they have the signs up. But really, for this to be a valid consent to a search, they would have to be advised of their rights, that they have the right to say no, for instance. Because a lot of people would think they don't have the right to say no. There could be an issue of implied consent, and I've thought about that with the ATV trail issues. Perhaps you're consenting somewhere in the paperwork when you get the permit, or through the signs that you see when you enter the premises, to having your cooler search for beer. I don't know. Haven't spent all that much time on it, obviously. But this definitely is an interesting issue that I think that we'll see more of. So thanks again for the fantastic submission. I really did enjoy that. Great footage, a lot better than mine. Great camera quality. Please keep sending them. I really appreciate it. And if you like to go through cases like this and discuss interesting constitutional issues, please subscribe both here and at the blog at thecivilrightslawyer.com. Remember, freedom is scary. Deal with it.